Talk about the issues involved here for a moment with Debbie Mactaggart, who is a senior solicitor with a law firm which specialises in these matters. Taylor Bracewell, I think. Is that how I pronounce it, Debbie?
Yes, that's right.
That's a good stab on my part, anyway. I mean, first of all, if a committee, even of the great and the good and the BBC, sit together and decide on the facts, that doesn't really in law mean very much, does it? I mean, you still... How are these, in a legal way, how do you have to proceed with these matters?
In a legal way, generally what an employer is required to do is investigate any allegation of misconduct or gross misconduct, come to a conclusion about that, and then if they have concluded that there is misconduct, then to hold a disciplinary meeting. Okay.
In this one, it's,
I think here we're at a sort of investigation stage.
Well, we are, except you'd have thought that in a logical way which these things proceed in most companies, you'd then call in the person involved and you would talk about it and hear their side of it, and then you'd have more meetings, and maybe even lawyers would get involved in the end if you couldn't come to a conclusion. So unless they kind of agree a deal between themselves, this could go on for some time, couldn't it?
Well, you would have expected... Again, in a normal employment situation, you would expect the investigation to be conducted promptly. So 2 weeks is quite a long time for that sort of investigation. Yeah. And you would have expected someone to have spoken to him in that time.
Yeah, he says he hasn't got a clue. I mean, these are clearly not criminal matters, so
no.
The burden of proof and evidence is necessarily lighter?
Yes, it is. What an employer is required to do, having gone through that process, is come to a conclusion that's what's called within the range of reasonable responses. So it has to be a reasonable conclusion that an employer could come to. It's not a trial.
Okay. And then there have to be grounds for appeal, etc., one assumes?
Yes. Every employee would have the right to appeal.
And if you can't agree with your employer, then there is a tribunal you go to, I guess?
You can make a claim to the Employment Tribunal if you can't agree, yes, and if you feel that that decision has been made unfairly or unreasonably. Right.
So this one could... And I come back to my original point. Unless both Mr Clarkson and the BBC can come up with some agreed course of action, this one could run and run.
It could, yeah.
Well, a bit of employment for you, Debbie. Never knows. That would be a good one, wouldn't
it? Yes, that would be good, indeed.
That would be good, yeah. So there you are. If anybody's listening to the BBC, Debbie Mactaggart is available. Thanks very much, Debbie. Nice to talk to you. I do assure you we will keep in touch. If we hear anything, we'll pass it straight on. In the last hour, we've had a report.